Yesterday, the Dow tumbled more than 600 points, and that is because Wall Street was spooked by what is happening in China and also the Federal Reserve. But China, their property market is collapsing, and that is because, lo and behold, who would have seen this coming? Ghost cities don't work. They don't work. And so Asia had a big sell-off, and we don't know what exactly is happening. Congress is now rushing to raise the debt ceiling as a government shutdown looms, and they're still wanting to spend, $4.5 trillion, which somehow or another is going to magically make inflation go down. The chickens are coming home to roost.
I have a couple questions here about this. Number one, when you say ghost cities don't work, you're telling me that building giant complexes of tall
whole cities,
skyscraper after skyscraper,
largest malls in the world,
that are completely empty because no one even lives in the region.
Correct.
You're saying building those buildings and leaving them empty for, let's say, a decade is a bad idea.
It's a bad idea. Bad idea.
Do you have any evidence to back that up?
Well, I know the Biden administration doesn't understand this, but the landlords, in this case being China, aren't getting any rent.
Okay.
And when the landlord doesn't get rent, for whatever reason, you're in a ghost city, or the federal government said you don't have to pay rent to the landlord, they collapse.
Okay. I think I understand that part of it.
It's pretty hard to reason. In today's reasoning, it's pretty hard to see that, but it is pretty much a straight line.
Now, on the other hand, you bring up this idea, this concept that spending multiple trillions of dollars might increase inflation when you are completely aware that an economist that also was going to be hired by the Obama administration. He came out separately outside of the Biden administration because he didn't take the job, and he said that some of the policies in there might help inflation. So
help inflation,
right?
Okay, so let me just tell you what inflation is, real quick.
Okay, yeah.
It means that there's too much money, too many dollars, and there's not enough stuff to buy. For instance, let's say you go into a store and you want to buy something that you know is always on the shelf, but for some reason, it's not on the shelf. Now, that might be because the factory has been shut down. It might be the factory is open, but they can't find enough workers. Okay. Not because the economy is doing so well, but because people are staying home. And so you're like, I really need that part. I need that widget. I need whatever. And I need it kind of now. Well, there's a lot of people clamoring for that. And there's a lot of money out there. And so the price goes up, you see, because there's too few of that which was usually on the shelf.
That's interesting.
Okay? And so that causes the price to go up. So the more money, now this is where it gets complex. The more money, the higher the prices. But the federal government is also spending a lot of trillions of dollars themselves, and they're buying things. For instance, let's say you want to put a patio together. You're like, I just want a bag of concrete. Well, that bag of concrete is going to go up because the federal government is using concrete to make a lot of buildings. And so their ghost cities, if you will, ghost cities are using a lot of the products that you're trying to buy. And so they cause a shortage of that.
Well, see, there's a way to test this. We could just test this right now and just see if it's true. Because one of the issues when you inflate money at the government scale, the government level, is it doesn't just enter the economy and spread out inflation equally. No. So the key, the best place to be, Glenn, is the people who get the money first, because then you get to spend it before the inflation and the prices have gone up.
That's weird.
That is the best place to be.
That would be in the government or in one of the big banks.
Okay. So what I guess, though, to test this, we'd have to say that the things that the people at the top of that scale would be buying would be the things that would go up the most.
You
to
mean
prove
like-
this theory right.
You mean like art?
Like, let's say art or housing or stock prices
Right.
or construction
or
equipment,
supercars.
or supercars.
Yeah,
Right. Any
right.
of those things.
Any of those
if
things.
those things were going up
Yeah.
and it wasn't necessarily yet showing up in other measures of inflation, which they keep claiming when they keep saying, well, it's not real inflation, it's transitory. It would show up there first. Is that happening in any way?
Yeah, in all ways.
In all ways.
ways.
So it
In
did.
all
Okay,
ways.
it passed the test.
But here's the one thing that we all have in common: food, and that's going up.
That's going up.
Yeah,
too.
that's going up too.
Good.
So let me tell you this. Now, one of the things Joe Biden is at the UN talking about is, of course, the biggest problem of them all. Let's all say it together. We all know what's really on fire right now. What do we have to really solve? Say it with me. Global warming.
Global warming.
Global warming.
Yes.
That's what everybody is talking about, global warming. So he's just at the UN's demanding that the world finally pay attention to global warming.
Thankfully.
And what's really great is that the banks and this little firm, I barely even recognize BlackRock, their executives have more influence in our government now than Goldman Sachs ever did. BlackRock, they're the financial advisors for the president, the vice president, and the secretary of Treasury. But other than that, they have almost no influence. They have decided that they are going to no longer finance any kind of power system. Okay? So they're not going to, unless it's green, they're not going to build any or finance, and Citi Bank is all in on this. They will not finance another coal plant or anything to do with fossil fuels because those are evil. And that's great. That's great. Except China's banks are financing now all of the new coal plants that are going online and all new energy sources all over the world. So they will be, let me see, in charge of the whole world because they'll control the energy. That's weird. But the reason why they're doing that is because we have to set an example for China, because China cares when we set an example. And so they're not going to finance any of these things. And they're trying to convince all the banks, you stop any of these, otherwise we're not going to do business with you. It's weird. It's, you know what it's like? It's almost like a score of some sort for your environmental activism.
Like environmental.
I can't think of a score that I could.
Like social.
Yeah.
Governance.
Yeah,
Maybe
it could be called like an ESG score. That's definitely not happening. Definitely not happening.
No.
So here's the thing that I would just like you to understand. This is, you ready? This is BlackRock. This is what they say. The world cannot possibly hit the Paris climate targets unless we accelerate the retirement and replacement of existing coal-fired electricity. This is especially in Asia, where existing coal fleets are big and young and will otherwise operate for decades. So what they're trying to do is make sure that we don't build anything new, because then it will just break down and somebody will have to replace it with something fabulous like, I don't know, solar power plants. Now, solar panel plants are fantastic. I know, because I built one about 10 years ago and spent a fortune on it.
A plant? A
solar panel energy generating system for my ranch.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Okay. And what's great is I spent a fortune on it 10 years ago.
And it paid for itself because you saved so much in electricity.
No, it didn't pay for itself. And then I had to spend another fortune on it about 2 years ago to update it, because it was really inefficient because things had changed so much. And it wasn't really working well. So 2 years ago, I did that. And then I'm spending another fortune this year on it because it's still not quite running right.
Now, you had to do this because you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. And
I had to do it.
And you wanted to get off the grid separately.
Entirely. But I'm just saying, no one can afford this.
Right.
No one can afford this.
This is interesting because it's similar to the experience of Germany, who spent a ton of money putting in solar panels that are now completely outdated. Yet they're locked into them because they spent so much money on them. And now they need to update all of them to make them more efficient.
Now, just so you know, China's just building coal-fired plants all the time. A new one opens up every single week. All right? Every week. They have 10 times more coal and natural gas than the United States or pretty much anybody else, and they're going to burn it all. They're going to burn it all. They're a bigger polluter than ours. I don't know why that's never brought up. It's always America. Look to China because they're really setting the example. No, they're not. No, they're not at all. And what is happening to us? We are giving China access to the entire world, and they will choke off the electricity to anyone who doesn't bow the knee to China. That's what we're doing. We are enslaving the rest of the world with this nonsense from BlackRock and Citigroup. That's what's happening. Now, by the way, I just want you to know, we're not going to be using less electricity, okay? We're not. We're not in the United States going to build any new power plants unless they're wind and solar, which is exactly what Texas did. And we had blackouts. We had blackouts during the storm here. Why? Because we didn't build new solar. We didn't build new coal plants. We even turned our coal plants down. We went to wind and solar. Now, that's a healthy system. And look what we just did to it just by turning it down. Now imagine your area, not building anything new, and taking all of the cars in your state, all of them, and shutting off gasoline. But they're going to have magic electricity that comes from the wall in your house. You're just going to plug that in at night, when solar panels don't work. And so everybody in your neighborhood is going to be plugging their car in at night. That's going to work out really well. Oh, I've missed the wind-up wind-up alarm clock. I've had an electric one and one on my phone with battery and everything else. It'll be so nice to be able to wind that clock back up because power will go out. Maybe your phone won't charge. And you'll be late for work. But the good news is most of us don't have to go to work because they will pay us to stay home and do nothing.
The good thing, though, is the wind power thing is really working out well.
Is it?
Have you seen the video of this wind turbine?
No.
Having a minor issue. Check it out here, Glenn. Up on the screen here. It's spinning very quickly. And, but I mean, what could go wrong? I don't think anything could go wrong. It is spinning a little bit too quickly.
Fast. Yeah.
I know. No, there it goes.
There it goes.
It exploded.
Wow, it explodes, breaks apart. Wow, that's...
I have no idea where that comes from, but it's kind of an amazing thing.
May I just give you one other thing? Thanks to Joe Biden, he gave Putin's Nord Stream 2, the pipeline to Europe. Yeah, he announced today, because Biden said, I'm going to give this to you. Don't you ever cut off Ukraine. And Ukrainians were like, don't make that deal. They of course they will. Well, no, he didn't. Gazprom offered... Europe a chance to have some electricity, but they really don't. They have to separate themselves from Ukraine, So what they did is Gazprom booked a third of available capacity through Poland and a tenth of available capacity through Ukraine. It sent energy prices soaring even higher, over now $900 per 1,000 cubic meters. And they're going to, they've been cutting supplies over the summer. They're doing it now for the winter. They just want to send a very clear message, I think, to Biden. The Russians want Biden to be seen as weak as he is, and Europeans to feel dependent on Moscow, which they now are. And he's also letting everybody know, Ukraine, it's mine. And if I can't have it, no one will.